My Life with Rhiannon Tracey, Part 2.
I would love to hear if you're happy to share some of the horror stories. You don't have to name names of specific brands or anyone if you don't want to get anyone grumpy, but I would love to hear if you've had any specific incidents where you've found that it's not very inclusive or it's not a very accessible job with
Mm.
modeling.
Look, it doesn't just happen with modeling. I'm a public speaker as well, and getting booked for talks that are completely inaccessible. The location has no disabled parking, no disabled toilet. I recently did a fashion show where there was actually literally no bathrooms at all in the entire building that had disabled access, and I was on like the 81st floor of this building for this particular show, and I had to take a lift, which was like a 15-minute wait and ride all together down to the bottom floor and then go across the road to a local cafe to use the bathroom. And we're talking like a 12-hour day, so just things like that. Like, this happens all the time, and I think it takes people like us, again, coming back to the education. It's so much more than just booking somebody with a disability. It's actually knowing what is required to accommodate what needs to be available. If you're booking someone to do a job, you need to provide.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, booking and representing is just one side of the coin, and the other side is actually being inclusive and framing it appropriately and having all the areas be accessible and, asking that model or that staff member, whoever it is that you're trying to accommodate for in that group of people that are working for that job, asking them what they need is just like such a simple way to break down all of those issues, which is, I think, also probably one of the other things that you have already told me about is when you were excluded from a specific show. And I think it was potentially maybe that they were too worried to ask you if you could navigate stairs by yourself or.
Yes.
So like maybe, yeah, it's just, rather than people feeling awkward about having those conversations, we would all, like, I probably shouldn't speak for all people with disability, but I think most of us would prefer to have the conversation about accessibility or about universal access rather than just them being like, oh, that's too awkward to talk about.
Not to mention what it does for our mentality as well. Like, I know that I would feel less shit if I was asked the question and responded with no than how I felt just being, not included in that entire situation. Like, the anger and the frustration and the sadness that I felt, it's all just been avoided with just one simple question.
Yeah, just ask the question. It's so easy. So is there anything else you wanted to touch on with modelling and inclusion at all?
Just that more of it needs to happen. There's so many faces out there. Like, I know so many people that have the potential to sell and to represent and to be included. And I think anyone who's watching this just needs to get amongst it and support the fact that more people with the same message are going to get heard sooner.
Yeah, beautiful. Is there any maybe brands or labels or companies, anyone that you've worked with that you think is doing a really good job?
Look, not that I've worked with them in particular, but I know, like, I think you mentioned Target earlier. Like, Target is an amazing one. Target and BW are doing some amazing things. As far as major brands, look, they're still very well behind.
Yeah, it's few and far between, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe the question should more be, who should I be tagging in this video that you want to get the attention of?
Spell in Byron Bay would be amazing. Look, it would be amazing to see us included in fashion shows. David Jones, Maya, all these big chains that have got, the likes of Megan Gale and Jennifer Hawkins and everything like that. Like, these are huge shows that, get worldwide recognition.
Yeah.
Why are we not included?
Yeah, I love it. Cool. Well, we're tagging Maya, David Jones, and Spell, and we'll see what happens from there. Hopefully get their attention. So when you're not modeling or doing public speaking and all the other amazing things you do, you are also the executive director of an organisation called The Next Step. So I thought maybe you could tell everyone watching or following along what that's about.
The long and short of it is I started a not-for-profit organisation called The Next Step in 2011 now, I think it was, and built a huge kind of community of families that had been affected initially directly with spinal cord injury. And in March of 2013, we opened our facility. So now our facility, it accommodates everybody with a different range of neurological disorders. Myself have learned within the journey of this injury that, you know, life is so much more important to live than to just walk. And you know, like that being said, you know, I don't want to be one of the lucky ones because spinal cord injuries are like snowflakes, no two are the same, but I can take steps and it does help with certain independent goals of mine. But I think it was about 3 years into my injury that I realized that, you know, my life had become so routine and so mundane that I wasn't doing enough, you know, to make myself happy. And that is exactly what I decided to incorporate into my facility, that, you know, there's a reason why the word walk isn't a part of our name. It's the next step, because it is the next step after, I guess, something traumatic happens in your life and you want to improve that quality of life. And we celebrate every single little achievement, whether it's being able to feel yourself fart, you know, to you know, being able to get in your car and drive yourself from A to B. I have an amazing team behind me that are improving, you know, people's lives on a daily basis, and it's somewhere that people can come and they can just feel that sense of love and that support.
Yes.
And
I love it, and I love that the focus isn't just about walking again or, like, you know, being able to move your arm again specifically. Like, there's more. It's more about that quality of life, which I love. And almost like bridging the gap between, you know, leaving hospital or leaving like the rehab facility that you go to after hospital and then just being in the community. Like, it's like I found that probably, like, obviously you guys made me super fucking fit, which was great. Super strong and super fit, which is like still helpful to this day. But it wasn't just about like trying to walk again or stuff like that. Like, obviously we tried, but it wasn't about that mostly. Like the main thing that I got out of it was my fitness and strength and confidence, and also just, you know, feeling part of a community again outside of a hospital. Like, yeah. The next thing I'd love to talk about is maybe a recent positive experience you've had out in the community and a recent negative experience you've had.
Sure. Well, I think a big positive that I recently had was casting for VAMP, and was actually really blown away with how accessible it was. And it was just super amazing to see. This was like dead set the most accessible place I've probably ever been to for any part of my career. Down to, you know, public toilets being available in one side of the car park that had a disabled toilet, to me not even realising that there was disabled parking right, like, at the front of the building. I still parked on the other side of the world because I didn't know. But, you know, it was really, truly amazing to, you know, to actually, you know, not have that dreaded anxiety that I know you felt, and probably so many people that are watching this, you know, when you have to plan everything down to, you know, the public toilets or the service stations you've got to stop at on the way there because you don't know if there's going to have toilets, and, you know, all the things. So the amount of anxiety that is taken away when somewhere is accessible, like, oh my goodness, it just makes our lives so much easier, and we can do a better job because we don't have that anxiety, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's why we have like things like DDA as well. So really, people probably shouldn't be congratulated for using accessible spaces. It should just be the bare minimum. But at this point in time, especially in the fashion world, it's not the bare minimum and they're not doing it. So we will congratulate the people that are doing it. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Rhiannon. I really appreciate you giving us your time and sharing your little pearls of wisdom with us.
You're very welcome. It's been hilarious.
There's been a lot of honesty, a lot of education, and a lot of laughs, I think. So thank you again. And everyone tune in again next week for another amazing interview. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, darling.
Thanks for following along. Catch part 1 of another intriguing interview next week.